What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Eddie Express DFS podcast presented to you by Draft Dashboard. Remember, you can try out all the tools that I use in this video 30 days for $1 by clicking my link in the description below. Gets you access to the NFL, the MLB currently, preseason NHL. I don't play preseason NHL, but regular season's right around the corner. NBA coming up right around the corner as well. We're going to get into a quick lineup review, and as many of you know that watched my video last week, you probably did pretty well if you listened to any of the plays that I put out there. If you were just watching for fun, I still appreciate that as well. But if you played any of my plays in last week's video, you probably did pretty damn well. We're going to give you the review of the Minimax tournament. I played 100 lineups for $50, and we'll get right into that. So here's our Minimax review. As you can see, we played $50 into the Minimax for 100 entries for a return value of $122. I ended up having a lot of Russell Wilson. I had like 50% of Russell Wilson, and he was 1% owned. He's just somebody that I really like the spot for. He ended up having 40-some points. Here's my entries. I took 27th in the Minimax with Wilson, Kamara, Pollard. I told you all Pollard. It was a risky play, but he was going to be worth it because he ended up getting 100 yards. He had some receptions. He scored a touchdown. So that's kind of stuff that I like to do. And then when you have 50% of Russell Wilson at 1.77% ownership, the thing about these Minimax tournaments is a lot of people diversify their ownership all over the place, trying to look for a big score. But yeah, we had Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Aguilar. Ertz was the one that hurt us. Metcalf, I still like my Metcalf play even though it didn't work out. But yeah, so we won $25 off a 50-cent entry, placed really high up. As you can see, we were all over the leaderboard. We had Russell Wilson everywhere, so that was a good way to start. Good way to leap into this week. So we'll go over our plays here for this week. Alright, let's get back into our plays this week. Here is the cheat sheet. As you can see, the players in red are the players that I'm watching. So the cheat sheet just kind of came out, so there's going to be more plays filtering in throughout the week. One thing I want to talk about, I limited my player pool down to about, I think I had 40 in my player pool last week. I think I want to focus more on getting a core and then just destroying it like I did last week. That worked out pretty well for us. We get into the position optimizer. Before we do so, please click the thumbs up button. That really helps me out. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. That also helps me out. Anyways, just want to say thank you for everyone that came on board last week. And if you came on board last week, you were probably pretty happy with yourselves. Probably a good life choice. All right, first quarterback I like is Deshaun Watson against Carolina. It's a home game for him. Carolina, not very good defensively. They've done well against quarterbacks, but I don't, it's only a 3-week sample size. I really like Deshaun Watson this week. He's probably one of my favorite quarterbacks. Outside of Watson, I really like Kyler Murray as well this week, going against the Seattle Seahawks, 14th against quarterbacks, 14th overall defense. Then I included Russell Wilson again. Listen, this guy just made me, a decent amount of money, so I'm going to include him. Arizona does not do well against the pass, does not do well defensively at all. So I'm going to include Russell Wilson again. Probably won't be a guy that I have tons and tons of like I did last week. I think the top end ownership for me is going to be Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray, and then we're going to filter some of these other guys in here. Like I said, I'm making 100 lineups, so these are why I'm including all these players. Then I like Jared Goff. Look, the Buccaneers are just bad. They let the Giants come back on them last week after being up 28-10 at the half with Daniel Jones, rookie quarterback. Jared Goff, he's got to throw for at least 3 touchdowns to hit value. Might need to throw for 4. He just doesn't have a whole lot of running upside. It's an unbelievable matchup, though. I think you could see him, eclipse the 300-yard passing bonus and maybe 3 to 4 touchdowns in this matchup. And then I like Phillip Rivers. Again, Miami's defense, dead last in pretty much everything. Miami's horrible. I don't have to talk to you guys why I like Phillip Rivers. He's playing Miami, and it's just as simple as that. Last guy I like is Matthew Stafford. I think this game has got some shootout potential in a dome. Mahomes is still a good play, but as you can see here, Mahomes is just awesome. 30, 35, 31. 7,500 is a pretty premium price tag to pay for him, though. And when you have guys like Darius Slay in the secondary, I don't see it for Mahomes this week. I said it last week, and he had a pretty good game, but he wasn't in any of the top lineups last week. So, but Matt Stafford, I think that game gets into a shootout. I think you could see like a 31-28. I think the Lions have a chance of winning this game as well. But yeah, Matt Stafford, dude knows how to sling it around the yard. He's had over 40 pass attempts in every single game. So I think that could work out pretty well for you guys. So I do like Stafford. He's probably my fourth favorite quarterback outside of I'd probably go Murray 1, Watson 2, and then I really like Josh Allen this week against the Patriots. Josh Allen, Mr. Consistency, we talk about him almost every single week. He's got rushing upside. He's almost got a 20 projection at 5,600. Pretty good stuff there. Patriots, first of all, they're good. Don't get me wrong. Patriots are a good defense. As you can see, they rank number 1 in both categories against quarterbacks and team defense. Buffalo always plays New England tough, and they're more talented this year than they have been any other year. My biggest problem with Josh Allen is not really knowing who to pair him up with for a wide receiver. I really don't like the Josh Allen and John Brown connection, although that's been the one that's been most that's one that's been most successful. I really like Josh Allen with the rushing upside. His receivers kind of lay me off him of being, super overweight on him, but I do like Josh Allen this week. Running backs this week. I have a little bit shorter of a running back pool than I normally do. Obviously, Austin Eckler, he is $8K. That's a pretty hefty price tag to pay for him. One thing he does do is catch the ball, though, and he's got almost a 21-point projection. The reason why I don't like Christian McCaffrey is if you look last week, he ended up putting 31 up, but without Cam Newton, he really isn't getting the receptions. So if he doesn't break that 75-yard run, he's nowhere near, he's nowhere in anybody's lineups that are at the top. So I'm going to avoid McCaffrey this week. Houston's got a pretty good run defense in itself, and I just don't think he's going to be catching as many balls as he was with Cam Newton. So I'm gonna lay off McCaffrey this week. Then next up, I like David Johnson. Listen, if I like Kyler Murray, I have to like his running back as well. I think David Johnson, he had a lot of catches last week. I think he had like 6 or 7. And that's a big deal on DraftKings. So I think that David Johnson is definitely worth a look. Not in love with him. I think I'd rather get up to Eckler for the most part, but I want to have some pieces of David Johnson if I'm making 100 lineups. Then we have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry on the road against Atlanta. Atlanta really struggles against running backs and pass-catching running backs in particular. Derrick Henry isn't necessarily really a pass-catching running back, but they do look at him. He does get some screen plays that go for some big plays. I think Derrick Henry is in a pretty good spot for 6,300. As you can see, the system likes him as well with the crown next to his name. Kerryon Johnson against Chiefs. Like I said, I expect this game to be high scoring. I think you could see like an 80-yard, 2-touchdown game out of Kerryon Johnson. He doesn't do a whole lot in the passing game. Doesn't really break big runs, but Kerryon Johnson could be a guy that you could put in play at 5,400. That's a pretty cheap price tag. Then Chris Thompson. I like Chris Thompson. I like pass-catching running backs, as you can kind of see. I talk about that every once in a while. But Chris Thompson for 4,500 has put up 15 or a 15, a 10, a 15. A guy just catches the ball. I think this game could get. I think this could be a low-key, higher-scoring game. Look, the Giants' defense is horrible. You saw Jameis Winston shred them in the first half. They got better in the second half and shut them down and ended up winning that game. Basically kind of a lucky win, though, because they missed a field goal at the end. But I do like Chris Thompson in the check down game here. He just catches 6 to 7 balls. He can get you anywhere from 60 to 100 yards receiving, and then whatever he gets on the ground, that just is a bonus. It's like having another wide receiver out there. Nobody down in the dumpster this week. No super flyer plays. Wide receivers. Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen this week with Rivers. I will say this, though. Don't go overweight on Keenan Allen. He's coming off a huge game, so he's going to draw some ownership just from a recency bias. 2, he's going against the Dolphins, so people are going to roster him against the Dolphins. I want pieces of him, but I don't want a ton of him. One thing that he's got going for him is he moves all over the field, but when he's on the outside, he's going to be matched up against Xavier Howard, who's actually a really good cornerback. And when you saw Amari Cooper score, I think only one of them was on Xavier Howard. Howard's a good corner. I didn't play any Amari Cooper last week because I didn't like the matchup. He had a pretty good game, but I'm gonna trust my gut and say, stuff happens that shouldn't. And I think that's kind of what happened with Amari Cooper last week. Keenan Allen, because they move him into the slot, though, he's definitely playable. I want pieces of him. I just don't want to be overweight on him, I think. Next guy up is Tyler Lockett. Arizona still without Patrick Peterson, their best cover corner. He's facing a suspension. I think he'll be back next week. But Arizona against Seattle, really like Tyler Lockett. If you watched any of that Seahawks game like I did, you notice that the guy that Russ goes to is Tyler Lockett. He doesn't throw to Metcalf. He doesn't throw to Brown. He doesn't throw to him much. It's pretty much Tyler Lockett and Will Dissly. So I'm going to include Tyler Lockett just because I have Russell Wilson. Next guy I like is Terry McLaurin. I watched that game last night as well. Dude's been super consistent. He's only 4,500, 26.5, 17.2, 19.0. He's Case Keenum's favorite guy right now. We might see a quarterback change, something you might want to keep an eye on. But he's a very good value wide receiver this week against the Giants. Dead last against wide receivers, second to worst defense overall. I think I'll have a lot of him. Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is a guy that I always like rostering. I was kind of waiting for his targets to come up. I think he went from like 3 to 5, and then I think he had 9 or 10 last week. So the targets are starting to come for him. The Chiefs defense struggles big time. They give up points. They give up a lot of points. So I like Marvin Jones. I like Kenny Golladay as well. Give me all the Lions. I almost called them the Tigers, but give me all the Lions this week. Like that. Because I don't like Keenan Allen as much as the field is going to, I'm going to roster a guy like Mike Williams. This is a guy who hasn't done a whole lot this year. $4,800 price tag against Miami. Someone's going to score for these guys, whether it be Eckler or Allen. Those guys are going to have 75 to 80% of their ownership that they're going to get. So I think that grabbing a guy like Mike Williams might be that guy that goes for 102 scores that nobody has. So keep an eye on Mike Williams this week. Kenny Golladay, I talked about him. This is the dude for Matt Stafford against Kansas City. Kansas City can't defend anybody. Their secondary is horrible. So you have to roster Golladay. You have to roster Marvin Jones. You could do that in a stack if you wanted to get Stafford. And I think if you're rostering Kyler Murray, you got to go to Larry Fitzgerald. He's only 5,600. I think that price tag's probably came up. He's a PPR machine, and this is a full point PPR website. So 28.3, 18.4, 14.6. Larry Fitzgerald is just going to be there, and he's going to catch the ball. They do the same thing with Christian Kirk as well. Another guy, PPR machine, 10.4, 20.4, 15.9. I think you could safely stack up those two guys with Kyler Murray. I think that makes a lot of sense in lineups if you wanted to stack that way. Then I think these are the last two wide receivers I had. Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, I watched the Monday night game. He's just the guy that seems to get open all the time. Again, the Bucs defense is horrible. And he's a speed demon, so I think you could see Brandon Cooks get down the field, catch a couple big balls here. Julio Jones against Tennessee, don't expect to get a ton of him. One thing I'll say is this game's in the Dome. Atlanta plays well at home. Tennessee's got a pretty good defense, though. 10th against wide receivers and 8th overall, so I'll get pieces of him. I won't get a ton. And then Robert Woods, again, I like Goff. I like the Rams. Woods is he's the possession receiver. He's not the big play guy, but he's the guy that's going to get you 7 or 8 yards on a slant. And then since we like Watson, we got to like DeAndre Hopkins. There's just not a whole lot left in Carolina. Outside of guys like Luke Kuechly, their defense just really isn't that good anymore. It once was one of the better ones in the league, but not anymore. Alrighty, tight ends. Tight ends that I like this week. Evan Ingram. Again, this dude is just awesome. 31.6, 10.8, and 26.3. $5,700 price tag. He'll probably be my top owned tight end, him or Darren Waller. Against Washington. Washington is 14th against tight ends, so that's not horrible. But that's factoring in Trey Burton ownership, who is just non-existent from last week. I like Evan Ingram. He's basically their top receiver. I mean, you can say he doesn't play receiver, but he is the dude that gets the ball thrown to him. Now that Saquon Barkley is out for 4 to 8 weeks, I don't know how much of the Will Gallum show we'll see. I did include him. I forgot to list him. He was my dumpster dive. He's down here on the bottom somewhere at running back, but he's in my player pool. I just don't know where he is. He's in here somewhere. Just wanted to. There he is. His projection will come up once they fix that he's going to be the starter. So make sure you get some Wayne Gallman in your lineups. He'll probably actually be one of my top owned running backs. Just want to talk about that quick. All right, back to tight ends. Darren Waller. Indianapolis really struggles against tight ends. Waller has been a beast this year, 14, 12, and 30. This dude catches everything. He's a really good tight end. He actually beat up the Vikings pretty good in some garbage time last week, and the Vikings are one of the best defenses against tight ends. So it could only get better for Waller this week. I think that this is going to be a good spot for Waller. Indy has not only struggled against tight ends, but they've struggled against tight ends for multiple years. So I think that this is a huge sample size. Get yourself some Darren Waller this week. Then I like Delaney Walker a little bit, just because I think that Atlanta's going to score at home. Tennessee can definitely run it back. Tennessee wide receivers just aren't any good. You have Corey Davis. You have Sharp. I don't know if he's even still there. Their receivers suck. So Delaney Walker is going to be the tight end that gets the looks. They're going to try and run the ball, and they're going to try to throw the ball at Delaney Walker. That's their MO this week. Next up, I'm going to list Greg Olsen. I almost listed him last week, and I was like, you know what, he's just too old. I can't do it. And this week, I almost said the same thing, but a guy he's just gonna get the ball. Like I said, Carolina doesn't have a ton at wide receiver. They have DJ Moore, and then they have Curtis Samuel, both young players, but not super talented. Samuel's more of a big play hitter. Moore is kind of so-so. Greg Olsen's just the dude that catches the ball all the time. In a full-point PPR site like DraftKings, you have to include Greg Olsen. Not in love with him, but I definitely could see him catching, 8 balls for 70 yards, and that'll definitely get the job done at 4,200. So one guy that I just wanted to mention. Next up, we have Will Dissly. First week he did nothing. Then he had a 22. Then he had an 18.2. He caught the garbage touchdown last week on the untimed down, which actually benefited me, but it was still pretty garbage. Will Dissly, like I said, Metcalf really isn't involved in this offense yet. He's not on the field as much as you would expect him to be. Tyler Lockett's the receiver that they throw to, and then they throw to Dissly over the middle. I think he had like 3 or 4 red zone targets last week, and he ended up catching one. So just something to keep an eye on for a $3,600 tight end. I think that makes plenty of sense. And then the defenses, I make defenses real simple. I watch the ones that I like, and then I exclude the ones that I don't like. So defenses I like: Chargers against Miami, easy. Rams against the Bucks. Aaron Donald's just too fucking good, and Jameis Winston turns the ball over all the time. So I'm gonna list the Rams. Colts. I like the Colts. It's a home game for them. Broncos. They're playing the Jaguars. I just forgot who the Colts were playing, but anyways, Broncos playing Jaguars. I like Gardner Minshew a lot. He's a fun story, but at the end of the day, this game's got a 38 total. Broncos are at home. I think you can list them safely. And then the defenses that I'm excluding are the Falcons, Panthers, Buccaneers, Giants. We're watching the Bears. I hate to say this, but because I'm a Vikings fan, but the Bears defense is in a pretty good spot at home against the Vikings. So I'm actually going to include them this week. Texans I don't like, just because the total's too high. You could get to the Texans if you wanted to, but not for me. And then all these ones down here: Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals, Browns. Just exclude them so you don't get them in your optimizers. All right. So now we're going to get a lineup optimizer. We're going to make a lineup on DraftKings and a lineup on FanDuel. So the first lineup that it wants to give me, I'm going to be doing some changes. I do like Deshaun Watson. I think we could start there. If we like Deshaun Watson, we're going to get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. You get that correlation. Gallman, Eckler like that. McLaurin like that. Lockett, Dissly, Kerryon Johnson. What can we do with Kerryon Johnson? Anything we like here? Marvin Jones. Yeah, we could leave something like this on DraftKings. Deshaun Watson, Wayne Gallman, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Lockett, Will Dissly, Kerryon Johnson, Rams defense. I think that's a pretty solid lineup. We'll make a Kyler Murray lineup too, just so we can show you guys my other kind of stacks that I'm looking at here. So you get Fitzgerald. I like McLaurin a lot. We could pay up at running back. Go find Kirk. Pay up at tight end. We'll go with Waller, and then we keep Gellman there. We'll just pay up here. Gurley I don't like. Get off the Rams defense. Go a little cheaper. See if we can squeeze in a stud that we like. We'll grab the Colts against Oakland. Don't like Dalvin Cook. Don't like McCaffrey. There's just the way the slate breaks out. There's no Kamara. There's no Ezekiel Elliott. There's no Saquon Barkley. I think it's gonna be kind of hard to pay up at running back this week. So maybe we just go and grab. Let's grab Hopkins back again. So here's kind of a Kyler Murray build. It's Kyler Murray, Will Gallum, Austin Eckler, Larry Fitzgerald, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Darren Waller, DeAndre Hopkins, Colts defense. We'll make a quick lineup on FanDuel here. I don't play on FanDuel a whole lot, but I like to look at the kind of look at it a little bit anyways. Alrighty, so on a touchdown-dependent site like FanDuel, I think we can safely grab Henry and Kerryon Johnson. What's the price on Deshaun Watson? For 400 more, I'll grab Deshaun Watson over here. Maybe we'll grab Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's pretty cheap over here. Let's do a Kyler Murray lineup. Let's again, this is more of a touchdown dependent site, so we'll just grab Fitzgerald. We don't have to worry about Kirk. We'll keep Mike Williams in there. He'll probably go super unowned, almost no ownership, I bet you'll have. So I don't know if I'm that in love with the Rams defense, but we go like the Bears over here against my Vikings. Chris Thompson. You can get all the way up to Hopkins. Something like this on FanDuel: Kyler Murray, Kerryon Johnson, Derrick Henry, Larry Fitzgerald, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, Evan Ingram, DeAndre Hopkins, and the Bears defense on FanDuel. Go back to DraftKings quick. I'll show you the mass lineup generator here. So this is what I use to make my my 100 lineups in the quarter entry like I did last week. I usually set my randomness to none. 100 lineups within 500 of the salary. You could use 1,000 if you want, but that's getting kind of cute. I usually set my mass exposure at 40% with no randomness. The randomness will kind of give you a random player in every lineup, which I don't really like. And then if I take this out, it'll pretty much give me 100 lineups with my player pools in it. And then unless there's like a price thing where they just need to find one more guy. So we'll generate these lineups real quick, and then we'll show you that in 1 second. Alrighty, so our generation is done. We'll click our See Lineups tab here. It'll load up all 100 of them. Sort it by projected points. Just kind of give you a look at what the site really likes. Taking a little bit here, but anyways, we can, so you now have 100 lineups on our phone right here. Now we have it started by projected points. So top lineup looks like 131.5 according to the projections, and that has quite a bit of Lions and Josh Allen at quarterback, so there's not a whole lot of correlation there, but this one is a David Johnson. I kind of like to look for correlation lineups. Like this one: Tyler Lockett, Will Dissly, Russell Wilson, McLaurin, David Johnson, Austin Eckler, Kenny Golladay, Larry Fitzgerald, Colts defense. I like that quite a bit. Here's a Stafford Golladay correlation. Anyways, so now you have 100 lineups. You can click this right here, so it'll show you the exposures that I got. Looks like my top owned players are going to be 2 of them from the Lions. Mike Williams, I'm going to be way overweight on. I don't think a lot of people will be even including him. Rams defense is way up there. Just kind of show you some of the top plays and how the sites are grading it out. McLaurin, 37. Then here's some of the plays that it doesn't like as much. So like Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. I'm going to weight myself to be overweight on Kyler Murray. And then defenses, Hopkins looks like it's hard to get to. So anyways, just wanted to show you guys that quick. Then you can select all these lineups. You click this export selected button, and then it'll give you a CSV file so you can just upload them into DraftKings. I'm actually going to delete these lineups because I like to run a Final Crunch, the night before. But anyways, thanks for stopping by, guys. Sorry we're a little longer on this video. I just had a lot to talk about with how well we did last week. But thanks for stopping by. Click the thumbs up button if you're new. Subscribe. Remember, you can try out all the tools that I just used in this video 30 days for $1 by clicking my link in the description below. Gets you access to this mass lineup optimizer, the cheat sheet, the NFL, all the stuff the website has to offer. Full trial, 30 days for $1. Have yourselves a good weekend and good luck this week. Let's keep doing big things in NFL.